Tone Stabley.
Oh, God.
Welcome to
use
the
my
show.
real name, too.
No, so,
already.
AKA Tone,
Thank you.
right? You're known as Tone. It's like Sting, you know, you got the 4 letters Sting.
Tone.
Tone, Sting.
My friends just don't like to use
Cher.
more than one syllable. So instead of Tony, which my family calls me, Tone is easier to say.
Right. But it's really Anton is your official name.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
So Tone as opposed to Tony. I
Mhm.
guess maybe like Tone is unique. I mean, the only Tone I can think of is Tone Loc.
Tone broke. It was.
You need to get a chain. This is Tone, like Tone. Or
I think it's because half our family were Italian, so it's a bunch of Tonys and Dominics and Anthonys. So Tone kind of kept me out from the cousins, so we could
Fantastic.
separate it.
Well, thanks for coming in, man. You and I have been friends for a long time. And it was funny because on the way over here this morning, I was trying to remember how many years has it been? Is it, do you think it's 20 years?
Well, I've been married for 15 years. You stood up in my wedding, so
That's
it's
right.
got to be longer than that.
I think it's 20, man. Because I'm going to tell the story about how we met. So, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Let's hear it. I'm ready.
So, I'm working in Fort Myers, right? And I hired a personal trainer, and he goes, meet me at a place called Anytime Fitness, right? I guess it's a 24/7
Mhm.
gym, right? So, sure enough, I meet him, and the guy shows up, and his name is Tony,
Yes, it is.
and big, strong, you know, bodybuilder type of guy, like total jacked, right? And he became my personal trainer. And I think I went there like 3 times a week, and he would lift weights and put me on a diet and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And one day, I mean, I'm always a loud guy, you know, telling jokes. All of a sudden, there's this guy who's louder and funnier than I am in the gym. I go, who the hell's that guy? And you were there, right? First time I met you was at Anytime Fitness.
Mhm.
Is this correct?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're singing to the music and you're laughing, and we instantly hit it off. And I think you already knew Tony, right, at that point?
I've met him a few times just from working out at Anytime Fitness, and he was a trainer there. So I knew him through talking to other people that used him. And I think I worked next door in that plaza. It was a Stein shop.
That's right. I remember that.
And I think one of the people I worked with used him as a trainer. And that's probably how I met him. And then I met you when you came in with him. I remember the day that you
So
walked.
you and I hit it off, and you said to me, you're a lead singer in a band. And I was, you know, I'm a closeted bass player at the time. I wasn't playing, but I had a bass. And I was like, let's get a band. Let's do something, man. Right. And then we started going out, and we had some fun times, man. I mean, I remember going to the Buddha bar with you.
The best times I can't remember, actually.
Now we legitimately partied like rock stars, man.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we
I
did.
mean, your drink of choice, was it Jaeger maybe or something like that?
No, we were sponsored by Jaeger. I used to push it, but I think I got sick of it. I think Jack Daniels was probably my drink of choice.
Yeah, it's safe to say you and I shared a lot of bottles of Jack Daniels back then.
Lots of Jack Daniels.
So today I want to talk about your music and your music history, and all the bands that you love, all the concerts you went to, your influences, because you're a musician, you're a singer,
Mhm.
a very good singer at that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And we're going to have a video inside this podcast. There'll be a clip
Oh my.
of you singing, which I forgot to tell you to bring, but we'll get that from you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I brought it with me. No problem. It's right here.
It's on a flash drive.
It's right here.
But yeah, so you were raised in the Detroit suburbs, correct?
Mhm.
Was it Mount Clemens was your hometown, or was that?
I was born in Warren, Michigan, and then I grew up in Fraser. Eventually moved over to East Detroit.
Okay. So your influences musically, who were they? What were you listening to as a young kid?
Oh, geez, like rock wise, I'm trying to think. That's probably elementary school, going into junior high. It was probably like Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, all the 80s hair bands.
Right.
Probably. I mean, I like the 70s stuff too, but I was born in 73, so it was at the tail end of
Right.
that. But I liked Boston, and I liked, Zeppelin and like the same stuff.
Because as a
everybody
kid, you're listening to the radio, obviously, right? In your dad's car, your mom's car, maybe you have a radio in your house. So
Mhm.
you're listening to that stuff, and then you got influenced by it, right?
else. Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
Then did you go right into the garage band, like find some kids and
Not in elementary school. I liked it, but it was more just having fun. I was more into having fun and doing sports back then. And then I think when I got into junior high, I started getting interested because my cousin Jerry played guitar.
who I met Jerry?
Yep. Oh yeah. At my wedding. Probably in one of my bands when you went to Michigan. And I think my first thing I wanted to do was learn how to play guitar. So I actually took guitar lessons from my cousin. And I found I didn't really like it that much. It's okay. Like
What age approximately was that?
11, 12
Okay.
ish. It was probably 11 or 12. So, junior high. I don't know I can't picture the age. Whatever age that is.
Sure. 7th grade, probably.
And I decided I didn't really want to do that. So I ended up getting in like a total nerd, even though I played sports, got into some choir things and I found out I liked singing, got private lessons on top of that. And then I started getting into more cabaret stuff, opera choir stuff, singing in Latin. It was weird.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So you kind of learned that you had a good voice. Maybe people told you that you had a good voice. Maybe a teacher, a parent, a friend say, "Hey, man, you could sing." Like,
Well, I didn't know
you knew you were different than the normal.
I didn't know if it was good. I just knew that it was, I could do it. Like they're like, yeah, you could do it. So I'm like, okay, well, if I work at it, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I can sing in key. And that's all it was really required. And then when I got in the cabaret, you had to be able to sing in key and throw a girl in the air and catch her. So,
So were you involved in any school plays or any like community plays or anything like that?
Just cabaret. I mean, any plays. I think I did one play. I wasn't acting in it though. I designed the set because I was more of an artistic type. I like to do engineering type things. And it was Little Shop of Horrors, and I helped design the big, huge plant, the Audrey 2 or whatever it's called. And we ended up renting it out to other schools because it was just so big and huge, and it was cool, and it was like a full size to scale. So I like doing the behind the scenes things. I like doing the technical stuff, the lighting, the camera work. I did tech support half my life.
So besides singing, you were involved in production.
Oh yeah,
Because I can attest to this day, you're still involved in production.
Mhm.
But in this case, you're producing your house. You're building this magnificent gazebo / garden / waterfall, beautiful backyard, koi fish, like crazy stuff, right?
It's like the resort, so you don't have to leave and buy a resort. So we got our own movie theater. We have our own koi pond.
Yeah, we're gonna put a
/
picture.
spot.
We'll put a picture up of your house as well.
Okay.
Because I love it. I love that one shot when it's all lit up and you got the pool. When you got you have a movie screen.
Oh yeah.
And the pool's lit up and it's like an animated looking design.
We got the lit up bar and the dance floor, and then you can see outside where the stage is for the bands. We also, at Christmas time, we do the animated light show where those people that annoy our neighbors.
We're going to talk about that for sure. We're going to talk about that. But let's keep with your childhood because I want to learn about your influences and some of your favorite records. So now you're listening to the record, you're singing. So you knew you could sing. You're listening to Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, all that fun hair metal stuff.
Mhm.
Let's pick it up from there. So like, did you at that point try to get a band together or did you?
Well, the first band I was ever in, I actually bugged my mom probably. I wanted to take vocal lessons, but like at a music place where you take guitar lessons. So it was like rock vocal. I wanted something rock and roll. So I went and took vocal lessons, private lessons from a singer. His name was Aaron. The band he was in at the time was in the 80s. They're pretty big. It was called Pleaser. They were really good, actually.
Original or cover?
Original. They were a big band. Like everybody liked them around there. And this is in the Detroit area. Unfortunately, by the time everything got really cool back then, it was at the tail end of the 80s going into the grunge thing. And, so that was on its way out. So I took lessons from him at the time. And one day I came in and he's like, you're going to be in a competition in Novi, Michigan. It's like some American Guild of Music. I'm like, for what? Singing? I'm like, fine. He goes, no, you're in a band. I'm like, I'm not in a band. He's like, yeah, you are. That's the singing guy. The guitar teacher and the singing teacher put a band together and then told us after the fact. So that's how I met my current drummer now. Craig.
That's a great story.
Craig, my drummer. That's where I met him.
So it was an arranged
He's
band.
13 or 14 years old. I mean, we're all in our 50s now. And he won national awards. He was a really good drummer even as a teenager. A little weird, very weird, very weird. And love you, Craig. And I was terrified. I was just never in a band. I did choir stuff, but I've never been in a band. I was completely terrified. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this shit. I don't know. We'll see. And he's like, no, you're doing it. It's already signed up. You're doing it. I'm like, son of a bitch. So we meet our guitarist. We meet our bass player. I didn't know any of these people. We didn't know each other. It was like one of those MTV shows, where they're like, here, make a band.
Right. Yeah.
So we had to learn, I don't know, it was like one set. So I don't know, 10 songs, bunch of teenagers. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. So the teachers picked the songs for us and then they helped us rehearse. So we had to rent our first PA. It was like 2 speakers and a microphone, no effects, no monitors. We didn't know anything about anything. And I'm trying to think and we didn't have a name. We're like, we don't have a name. So the instructor's like, yeah, you do. You're Overdose. I'm like, okay, I guess we're Overdose.
And you're just a bunch of kids too.
A bunch of idiot kids,
What was the first songs that they made you learn?
Dockin', I think, Breaking the Chains, Into the Fire. We did
Wow.
those. What else? Yeah, I could sing high back then because my voice hadn't changed. I'm trying to think what else. Dangerous Toys. I don't remember which song. What else did we do? Docking, Rat, one of the songs from Out of the Cellar. I don't remember which one. It was like all these 80s type songs.
But complex songs, not like your
Yeah.
simple,
Oh yeah,
three
he
chord
wasn't
songs.
messing around. He's making sure we did, stuff that was tough because he's a music teacher.
Right.
And there was a competition. Like they had judges, and then we ended up winning first place. And then in the national one, we won third place. We were a bunch of kids.
Please tell me there's a videotape of this stuff.
Actually, I was going to say no, but my wife just found a box of VHS tapes, and I think it's in there.
We're gonna have to get it and convert it.
Yeah, we'll see. I haven't looked at it.
So now this band is successful. So obviously you got the bug at this point. You were probably
Oh
fired up,
yeah,
right?
and then I thought I was a
School,
rock star.
yeah, school must have been great because you're walking around school probably like, hey man, I'm in a band.
And half the people are like, he's still an idiot. And we don't know what he's doing. They liked me more because of football. It had nothing to do with the band.
Yeah, yeah. Now, many years later, you had two very successful bands in that area, right?
Mhm.
So you had a band called Last, which was an original band,
Mhm.
and then you had a cover band called Just Cause.
Yeah,
And I had the pleasure of seeing both of those bands
yeah.
when you had a reunion. I came out to Michigan. But go ahead, talk about how those two bands started.
We started with Just Cause, and it's just the whole band was just cause we wanted a band. So it's Just Cause, JUSCUZ. And my cousin was in it. So Cousins, Just Cause. It was like a whole double entendre, stupid thing. It was just because we were weird and drunk. And I think some girl came up with the name. Every time I come up with a band name, it's usually some girl comes up with the name randomly.
Yeah,
Yeah. We got that story too for our thing. And I'm trying to think, Jerry, what did he do? So we put together his cover band. We're just going to play just around, just stupid cover stuff. And what happened, it was my ex-wife at the time managed a bar, and we couldn't get anywhere. Like even now, if you're a new band, you can't get in until someone knows you. Their band canceled, so we got in. And since I just knew a lot of people, we were just fun. We always threw good parties. So we already had a crowd from throwing hall parties. And we said, hey, we're having a party at the bar. So they all came, packed the bar. And that was kind of the story there. And I'm like, man.
was that your first gig live?
That was our first gig live.
And how many songs did you think you had? Under
3 sets. So probably 10 songs per set because we were new. So it was about 30 songs.
Sure.
But it was fine. I can talk in between and make people laugh
Sure
and
you
not
can.
make it sound like they're waiting. I can make it feel like it's part of the show.
Right.
And there was a little nervous laughter and some drinking. So it worked out fine. After that band was fine. Then we got booked fine. It was no big deal. And it was just a regular cover band, but I wanted something more. I wanted it because we always threw parties. I'm like, I need something to throw a party. I want to do some originals just to record. It started out just recording for fun. And it was almost the same guys. The only difference was my cousin who played guitar in the cover band didn't want to do the originals because it was heavy. And the guy that actually played bass in the cover band was a guitarist, Scott, who you've met.
Yes.
He was a really good guitarist.
Sure
he just
is, yeah.
never did. He was always stage fright. We got him on with the other band playing bass just to get him up there. And then he got the itch and he's like, I'll play guitar in the original band. So then we had to find a bass player. It was the only thing we had to find was a bass player. Everybody else was pretty much the same members. Started out as a 4-piece, eventually evolved into a 5-piece.
So the same drummer from that childhood band.
Correct. I sang, same drummer. And then the guitarist was the bass player from the cover band, Scott. And then I forgot. I think at the time we had Wally play bass.
Interesting, because I always knew Wally as a guitar player.
Yeah, we needed a bass player, and he said he would do it. Eventually, we brought him on as a second guitarist, and we hired Dave as our bass player temporarily, who was also a guitarist. It's different. I mean, I don't mind it, but it's not the same as having a bass player. Like a bass player sounds like a bass player. A guitarist can play bass, but they're not a bass player, and you know that as a bass player.
Yeah, they'll do too many fills and
I
too
consider
many,
bass player
runs.
percussion. They
Right.
play, they play with the drums.
Sure.
Guitarist plays the melody. They more accompany the singer. So it's hard to convert, I think. Like they pulled it off, but there was no feel. So eventually I wanted a real bass player. We hired a guy named Steve, who I went to high school with, who also sang in the show choir stuff with me. So he was a good singer, really good bass player. And it's funny because he was this big, bald guy. He looked like he could just tear the world apart. He was the nicest guy ever. And so then we finally completed Last. And I'm like, well, we got to get people to see an original band. So I'm like, let's just throw parties at the bar instead of just playing a bar. Let's throw a Mardi Gras party. That's always been our theme. And we'll have our cover band open up for the original band. And then we'll throw a couple other openers because you got to have a couple openers of people that we know that want to play. And we have the same, maybe a different crowd, but the same liking. That way we can all benefit from networking and getting the crowd. I like networking. I like building crowds. building friendships.
You had a lot of friends who were musicians, like the band Critical Bill.
Yep. And that comes into play down the road. They ended up playing with us after they seen this Mardi Gras party grow. It started at Hall's, and we went to a venue, and the venue was so full when we did it. The parking lot overflowed, and this was in Mount Clemens, downtown Mount Clemens, Michigan. All the cars ended up parking at a venue called Hayloft.
I was there.
And we weren't playing Hayloft
many
yet.
years later, I was there.
And we couldn't even get in Hayloft yet. And then what happened was this guy called the next day, called my ex-wife, who was our manager at the time. He's like, who are you guys? And what were you doing across the street? And why was our parking lot full? We want you guys. And that's how we got into the bigger venues, is because we would throw huge parties. And they're like, holy crap. Of course they want the people. They don't care if we're
it's
good
all about
or not.
liquor sales, man.
They don't want us. They want all the people buying alcohol. Who cares if we're good? We never build ourselves as the greatest band in the area. We were the greatest party band.
You were entertaining.
We were a party band. We didn't care if we sounded the best. We want to make sure everybody had a good time. That was our motto.
Now, how was your production level and value at that point? Did you actually have your own PA? Did you have lighting, staging?
We did have our own PA. But for big events, we would rent a sound company because we had to have a huge PA. In sound and lighting, I have always done. I've always been in the advertisement business. I have a sign shop now, a marketing business. So I always did my own signs and banners and lighting. We would hire someone to run it, and we'd always have our own sound guy. But when we did the bigger venues, if we did a hall, we had our own PA. Standard, your standard PA. When we played the bigger venues, I wanted to rent it. I didn't want to deal with it because you get 2,000-3,000 people. You can't think straight. And so we ended up getting into Hayloft. That's how they called. And Hayloft, the guy that called was Mike from Critical Bill,
who I met as well.
And he's like, well, wow, we want to do the Mardi Gras party with you. So eventually it became a Critical Bill / Last dual party we did every single year. Everybody looked forward to it every year. And it was an anniversary party.
Now, Last had originals.
Mm-hmm.
So did you actually record an album? Did you have an album of songs?
It was put out in 2001 under Independence Records. The name of the album was called The Fallen. God, I think I still got some at home.
Did it ever make any traction on the radio, or did it ever get out any
was one or two of the songs did, and it was because we were on that Zippo Hot Tour thing through Fuse Entertainment. Fuse, it's a TV channel now. It was just getting started back then. It was like 2005. And they put us on like a mix thing with it was like a big giant nationwide battle of the bands thing that started. And then eventually you get to go on this little tour thing and you win free stuff. My drummer gets he got a free snare drum. I got a t-shirt because what are they going to give a singer? I'm like, he gets a drum. I want a t-shirt. And I was fat at the time.
You got free liquor, right?
Oh,
Zippo lighters.
We got Zippo lighters with their logo on them. I still got them. They're really cool. I love that. It's really
so funny
cool.
because I know a woman whose husband is the president and owner of Zippo lighters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy how world
I'd
works.
love to get more. It's neat because they're official Zippo lighters because they sponsored the tour. And, it's kind of neat. So anyway, they put together a mix album of all the bands. So two of our songs, definitely one. I think two are on it. It was from Island Records. So we did get a lot of play through that. But, locally, we could get play airtime locally because people would just call and request. And like Riff and the local rock stations would play them. But that was just because our friends wanted to hear us. I don't know if it was anything more than that.
Well, fantastic. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about music with Tone Stabley.
Okay, so the same, show we've been talking about that the Hayloft called to see what was going on was one of our first big Mardi Gras shows. It was huge. I mean, we had like smaller versions of it at halls, and this was the biggest venue one where it was packed and sold out. And the funny thing was when we first went on stage, it was kind of like one of those, I don't know, one of those Spinal Tap moments. Like, all right, here we go. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Power went out. All the fuses blew. We're all like, the fuck? We get the power back on. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Boom. Power.
So it was
went
a
out.
circuit thing.
It was a circuit thing because they had really bad wiring in there. They like half-ass wired it. It used to be a car dealership. They turned into a nightclub. It was huge because it was a nightclub or a car dealership, but it was like not wired for the PA. So we had to trace down what was killing it was some of the lights. Some of the lights, because it was old school, it wasn't all LED back then. So some of the lights were just killing it. So we had to axe them. We figured that out. But while we were waiting, we had like one speaker that was still working and nothing else. And we sat on the front of the stage. Everybody's laughing. And what can you do? And we did, we're like, screw it. So we did an acoustic song while we were waiting. We did that lit song, Had a Bad Day. I think it was Had a Bad Day. Remember that song?
Sure.
The whole crowd was singing with us. It was hilarious. It turned out hilarious and it was fun.
Yeah.
And everybody singing Had a Bad Day. And by the time we got done, the power came back on and we finished the song with the drums and strong. And it almost seemed like we planned it. And actually we were probably shitting bricks inside. Like, oh my God, our first show, everybody paid money and we have to give them their money back. And I got to pay the venue. And
turned out to be an epic night.
It was an epic night. It was great. I think the only other disastrous thing that happened is the owner had a loft up on the top, like in the roof. It was weird.
It was called Hayloft, right?
Oh no, this was the first venue, Element. It was like this weird room. It was like the secret casino room. He had like slot machines and a hot tub. And it was like, you wouldn't know it was up there. It was like freaky almost. You could see the whole city. It was kind of cool. I went up to get paid and I was a little tipsy by the end of the night. I was partying.
Sure you were.
I fell down 3 flights of stairs, rolled in and busted through the door of the woman's bathroom on my back, holding peanuts. And I did not spill a peanut.
Now, is there any video footage of that?
No, absolutely not. Did not spill one peanut. Very proud.
Interesting. So would you say that was the height of the last, era?
That was the beginning.
Oh,
that
yeah?
was the very first.
So you guys kept
show.
rocking, kept doing big shows?
Yes. And that's how we got into that Zippo hot tour.
Okay.
And
so basically, did it end when you moved to Cape Coral?
Yeah, it did. We were getting ready. We were just starting to record another album when I was getting ready to move, and just things went. You got the marriage thing went south, financial thing went south. I think it was just getting a little weird. I was just coming down here to clear my head. I wasn't even moving here. I'm like, I'm moving down just to clear my head, just take a break. I'm single again. I'm going to party a little, hang out. And I found out my ex-wife, my mom had lived down here and my ex-wife owed her money. So I'm going to come down, pay her back, get things straight. And I'm still here.
So that's when you and I met.
That is when we met.
We were partying like rock stars.
Partying like rock stars.
We did form a small project and we did one show. Do you remember that one show we did? Remember
yes,
it was called Tom Stock.
Tom Stock. It was like way out in the boonies somewhere.
Okay, so there was a firefighter that every year him and his firefighter buddies they built a stage, right? And it was in the middle of nowhere, like somewhere out like in the swampland. And they did an annual show that I think they tried to raise money and people had campers and people slept there and stuff like that.
Yeah, like they pick a cause.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
So you and I put together a small project. Remember what it was called?
It was called Jacked Up.
That's right. It was the original Jacked Up.
The original Jacked Up.
The original. Like nobody knows this story. My own bandmates don't know this story.
They do now.
Yeah. So you actually created the logo. And it was you were on vocals. I was on bass. I forgot we had a drummer. We had another guitar player. Was it a 4-piece or a 5? It was a 5-piece.
There was 2 guitarists and a drummer.
Yeah.
I remember the drummer's name. Frank was the drummer's name.
So we
That's
did
he
like
was an EMS.
We did like a 12-song set. Like there were some Foo Fighters in there.
Yeah. It was a good set.
I think we did Cumbersome. I think we've been
of
playing.
Course, that's a staple. Got to do 7.
You and I have been playing Cumbersome since the first day I met you.
I think that's just like a staple. Anywhere I go, every band's like, come up and sing Cumbersome. I'm like, anything else? Can I sing anything else? And they're like, no.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so we pull off that set and I think we had to start at 10 in the morning. That was the caveat. Like they give us the free time.
Yeah, we're the new guys.
But we were the 10 a.m. band.
You're like, hey, you're going to play this big benefit. It's huge. It's going to be, and I'm like, okay. So we're playing for everybody setting up their tents.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I want some eggs. I'm like, man, I want some sausages over there when I get off the stage.
And it just so happened that some of my boys from New York were in town, so they came to see it.
Did
So,
they? I didn't
yeah,
even
yeah,
know
no,
that. Tony Holby came actually.
yeah, he did. I have
Oh,
pictures.
am I supposed to say last names? I don't even know.
I have pictures of me and my buddy Joe Blaney. And we're drinking a bottle of Jack, together, right? And he doesn't even drink. So that was the birth of Jacked Up. So many, many years later.
Did you hear that,
um,
Jacked Up? I'm the original singer.
That's right. After that's true. That's very true. That's good trivia, man. We should have a trivia game.
No one would get it.
Nobody would get that. But then I used the name Jacked Up, and I used the logo that you built and created. And many, many years later, Jacked Up was formed because I had a project, and this is a whole different episode. But somebody said, "What do you need? What do you want to name the band?" And I said Jacked Up because I knew, and I already had a logo. And
Yeah,
I even asked you if you were cool with that.
Oh,
And
yeah,
you said you were cool.
absolutely. I wasn't ready. I didn't want to do any band things. And I'm like, why not, man? It's kind of cool. And look, you're still playing out strong.
So let's talk about now. So you've been performing with various bands. You've been jumping up on stage and singing with different projects here in the local, the Lee County area.
Sure.
Yeah. So you're back on stage again.
I wasn't going to be. And then I'm getting the itch again. And I feel pretty good. I've got healthy recently. I had some health scares, got better, feel great.
Well, by the way, you look fantastic.
Well,
by the way.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You look the healthiest I think I've ever seen you.
You wouldn't know all my hair fell out a year ago because here it is. And
it's always changing colors and lengths.
I can't sit still. I mean, I'm like ADHD.
Like clean shaven, not clean shaven.
I like clean shaven now. I didn't before because
you do have a baby face. You do have a baby face. So
I'm worried about the turkey neck, but
you
I don't
look
think I have
younger.
too much of a turkey neck. But what are you going to do? I'm 3,000 years old now. I should be grateful I can walk.
So you and I decided to put together a little side project, and I'm really excited to perform with you again because it's been a long time. So we actually played a few. We played a few songs.
Yeah, we did some jam sessions, and it was fun.
We got up on stage down in Port Charlotte. We played, and the magic was certainly there. You're a great front person because you know how to handle the microphone, how to handle the crowd. Your presence is strong. You know what I'm saying? Your confidence exudes. You exude confidence.
I'm excited when I play. You could see it even when the few times we've rehearsed. I'm excited when we're rehearsing. I knock coffee over. I'm excited. I'm all over the place.
Right.
If you don't overthink it and you have a good time, everybody else will have a good time. It's all about having a good time. People up there concentrating and thinking too hard. People aren't having a good time. Now they're looking at you like, I wonder what he's thinking. And they're doing what you're doing. You're reflecting. You're helping them have a good time. So if I'm not having fun, they're not having fun.
But the fact that you know that puts you so far ahead of the game because there's a lot of singers out there that don't understand that you have to play rock star, like you have to be the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to move like the guy, you have to talk to the crowd.
I want to be the hyper idiot
Right?
that dances around like a monkey.
Right. So, but I'm saying is that you check all the boxes. You can sing and you can perform and you can entertain, right? And you can talk to the audience.
Like you don't have to sing good. You can't sing bad, but you don't have to sing good. You just got to be able to carry tune, but enjoy yourself. And as long as the whole band clicks and everybody's singing and having a good time, everybody will have a good time. And if everybody's having a good time, everybody wants to have a drink. Everybody buys a drink. Then the bar owner's having a good time. Then we're invited back. Then we make money. Now I'm having an even better good time. So
it's funny because we only played like 6 or 7 songs out of like the 30 songs that we currently have.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm waiting for us to, I told somebody, if you want to hear Over Easy.
Over Easy
is the name of the band. Over Easy. If you want to hear Over Easy, just come to Jam Night. You'll hear 3 songs a week. So
you'll hear our whole set list eventually.
Over 20 weeks, you'll hear the entire.
And then we'll just clip it together and make a video. It'll look like we played a whole night. It'll be like, why is everybody wearing different clothes? Like we're quick change artists every 3 songs.
Yeah. So anyway, Over Easy will be coming to a city near you soon.
Dun, dun, dun.
Charles Zaman is our guitar player, and he's going to be on the show. He's actually going to be on in a couple weeks.
He's a good guitar player.
Great guitar player, great guy. He's in a band called Sunset Strip.
Very good pride. That's fun. It's got 80s.
And it's funny because he was in another band prior to that, and he was not in a band. And I knew the bass player for Sunset. And I said to the bass player, hey, there's a guy that you need to audition right away. He'd be perfect. And sure enough, Charles went and met those guys, auditioned, and he got the gig. So now when you see Sunset, man, they are fantastic. I think
good. Chuck needs a wig, though. He needs the long hair for the Sunset Strip.
But he's got that look. Who's the guy that now plays with Sammy Hagar? The guitar player, Joe Satriani.
Oh yeah.
I just saw that Best of Both Worlds Van Halen tour recently, and Joe Satriani plays with.
Yeah, I
Sammy.
think my bass player invited me to that, and I didn't go.
He looks like that guy. Charles looks like a musician. Like if you look at him, even if you didn't know him, you'd be like, that guy plays guitar or something. But he's also a super, super, super nice guy.
Oh,
really one of the
all
best.
All heart.
So the 3 of us, along with a drummer named Tom, the 4 of us are going to be doing something really soon. And summer's tough to get things together. I know Charles has been traveling for work, and it's hot as hell.
Everybody's got side
But
projects.
this fall and then going into the winter, it's going to be so much fun because the weather's going to be great. And you got to admit, this marketplace, there's a lot of live entertainment here, or I should say, opportunities for bands, right?
I'd say Florida, and I'm coming from Michigan, which is a music place. Florida has way more opportunities to play. And I think it's because of the weather, because you can play year round, outdoor venues at least. Where in Michigan, you got indoor venues all year round, but you also have outdoor venues only in the summer.
So basically in Michigan, it's tough to play in the winter because there's only a limited amount of inside bars.
And it's saturated.
It's competitive.
There's so many good musicians up there. The competition's tough. Like you got to be on your game up there because everybody's good. And I'm not saying that because I'm from there. I mean, go witness, do your homework, witness, So when you come to Florida, I'm not saying there's a lot of good bands here, but there's less competition down here. So you got more of an opportunity to
I
get out
agree
and
with
play.
that statement 100%. I used to live in Los Angeles and I met a lot of musicians.
So you understand.
And there's so many good guys that can't find work. I mean, guys that will come down here and shred and rip it.
And they're amazing.
But they're so competitive there. There's so many good musicians there. And New York too. And,
Oh, yeah.
and now Nashville, I hear.
New York. That was fun. We've played there before.
We did. So what happened was I have a friend who had who knew the owners of a very famous bar down in the Village, right? Was it Bleecker Street? Were you on Bleecker Street?
I believe so.
And I said I was coming to town with my friend Tone, from Florida, and he's originally from Detroit, and he sings. And I believe you had a buddy, you had a drummer friend that was going to be there.
It was Wally who was coming.
Was Wally.
And he brought his drummer friend.
Right. So we had bass, drums, guitar, and vocals, right? So we actually got a time slot because somebody canceled or there was some opening.
Just some rare,
So
yeah.
we're on a famous bar on a famous stage. Now, granted, we weren't the prime time
We weren't
band.
even a band.
We were just like the opening act.
We were just a band. And we weren't even like,
they let us play. And
Yeah.
and we had to like put together a PA like the last minute. Remember?
Oh yeah. We had to like fake it and wire it. There was no effects for the PA. So I took a guitar pedal and ran it through like with some reverb just for some vocals so we could run it through the
Did we rehearse the night before or did we just go in there cold?
I think the day of we went and rented a studio for like an hour. And it's the first time we ever got together and we put together some songs.
Was that studio where we had to go up in the elevator and it was like up in some...
It was there were some flights I remember because we and none of us had played together. We had to wing it.
Right. And so what I did is I called SIR Studios. I had a friend that worked there and I had to rent some gear. I had to somebody came in and brought an amp that I had to pay for. Like $50 for the night.
Mhm.
I actually paid more for my liquor and my equipment than I made. We got paid on that night.
So much liquor.
But so sure enough, we're on the stage and we're on the world famous Bleecker Street. And it was like a Friday or a Saturday night. And we did our set. And it was a short set, but it was a great set, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was odd. It happened to be rare because it should have been cold out. It was warm.
Yeah.
They opened the wall up and we ended up playing and everybody in the street was watching.
And then we're walking up and down afterwards and stuff and going to places like the Red Lion and all these other bars.
Matter of fact, I met Mike Smith, is it bass player for Ted Nugent.
Oh gosh, that guy's really talented.
I met him
Holmes,
that night.
Is it not Derek St. Holmes, the other guy?
Mike Smith, I'm thinking.
I do remember that. I
met him at that night at Red Lion. So.
That's right.
And he's still a Facebook friend. That's pretty neat.
There's a lot of famous musicians that hang out there. Like the keyboard player from Bon Jovi used to hang out there when he wasn't touring, just to have drinks.
It was great. It was great. I mean, there's some things I don't remember. I do remember waking up on a park bench holding a half gallon of ice cream in front of my hotel. Don't know how I got there.
Well, what happened was after we finished, we started to drinking at the bar. And there was, what was the guy's name that ran the bar?
Luca.
Luca was feeding us shots. We were just getting shots.
Jaeger bombs.
And I hate Jaeger, man. And I would always say to you guys, always pour me a Jack. Like everyone's doing Jaeger. I'm like, no, I want Jack. And people get pissed because then they have to put the Jaeger down and they get a bottle of Jack. Pour that. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm not throwing up. I'm drinking Jack. I'm not drinking Jaeger.
The owner was buying though, so I was drinking.
Right. So, but then we ended up crawling home. I think I actually went home early because I was bombed.
I didn't see you after a certain time.
You stayed out later than I did.
Someone put me in a cab. I'm assuming it was Wally or the drummer guy. And I woke up in front of the hotel holding ice cream. So apparently I had ice cream. I think I had a mohawk at the time. I'm surprised I didn't get mugged.
And I met a woman too, either the night before or the night after. She got sick and I was in a cab with her and she got sick and I just met her. And she actually literally like had projectile vomit.
Oh my.
I think I like let her out of the cab and I said, okay, I'll see you later.
Kiss her good night.
I took off. It was one of those rock and roll nights. Man. I went and got pizza and went to bed.
That was rough. I remember it was a rough flight home too. Ugh. I felt hungover. I felt terrible. I mean, it's a good time, but I wouldn't trade it. Memories.
Yeah, that was a good time. So hopefully we're going to get to play really soon, right? We got some new songs that we're going to work on.
That would be awesome.
And the Over Easy logo is fantastic, by the way. You did a great job.
Well, thank you.
Building that.
That's another funny story with that name. Another one where girls came up with the name.
Yeah. Well, you're a very creative guy, and we're going to talk about that next, your creativity. But you've always created logos, and you've created names and images and things of that nature. So I want to talk about now what you do the week between Christmas and New Year's.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the audience what goes on at the Stabley household.
We had the Stabley annual light show extravaganza holiday, whatever. And it's we have animated LED light show, also projection mapping. It's all animated to music. We do sequences, Christmas related stuff. We also do non-Christmas related stuff. I got some cool Star Wars stuff. Sorry, Disney. And it's fun. I mean, people pull up, they drive. It runs from, I'd say, the end of November, Black Friday, until New Year's Eve or New Year's, at night, the countdown.
So that's several weeks.
Yeah, it's about a whole month. And it runs from 6 o'clock until, during the week 10, and the weekends 11:30, 12, depending on the noise ordinance. I do have a speaker outside. You could listen to it, but I keep it low. But you can also, we have a radio station, 88.5 T-Rocks radio. And you could tune in your car and park in the field across the street and listen to it on your car stereo, and then watch the animated light show too.
So this thing has grown over the years. It's gotten so popular now that people come from all over.
Yeah.
They come to your house. They sit out in the street.
Yes.
Is there still an empty lot across from you?
There's one left. Everything else is overbuilt.
So people just like bring their lawn chairs and they'll watch your show.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what, like a 20 to 30 minutes of just nonstop, and then it loops?
Yeah, I would say between 20 and 30 minutes. Yeah, and then it'll loop and go back to the beginning. If it gets too crowded where there's a traffic jam because of my neighbors, I do have a secondary set I can upload, because I can do it all from my laptop and upload it to all the computers. And it's a shorter set, so it keeps the line moving. I can make it like a 4-song set. So
your house is basically lit up. I mean, like, we're talking.
Yes.
There's not one little nook or cranny that doesn't have some kind of light attached to it.
Everything's lit up. Moving heads, LED panels, projectors. The whole thing's lit up.
And what's the highlight of the show? Like, what's the genesis of, like, is there like a crescendo where at the end there's like do you do like some kind of finale?
Usually the intro's the funny thing. Like we have a Clark Griswold one now that goes, it's kind of funny, and it has like a lightning strike, which will blow out the whole house, and it looks like the power went out, like the movie.
Interesting.
And then it comes back on, and then it does the show. I would say the highlight would be New Year's Eve. We do a big countdown.
Okay.
And we do the whole Mariah Carey thing, and it goes down, and then it ends with fireworks, like actual fireworks.
No kidding.
Yeah. And then that's it for the year. At midnight, it's done.
And then you got to take the thing down.
Yeah. Then I got to take it all down. And it's funny. It takes probably 3.5, 4 weeks to set up, plus whatever issues, fixing and soldering and wiring. Because even the control boxes are everything's handmade. Everything's wired, soldered, programmed.
Have you inspired your neighbors to put up decorations as well?
I've inspired my neighbors to ask me to do it. And I'm like, no, I'm good. How about just put your requests in and I'll play what you guys want in my house? I mean, if they want to buy the stuff, I'll help them set it up, but I'm not me. It's a lot of maintenance. Like, I could probably make a business out of it, but I'd be working 24/7 because you're always repairing something, because it's outdoors. Anytime there's electricity, moving parts, and outdoors in Florida, something's going to go.
Well, you've become an expert in some of this stuff that you actually go to trade shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're actually involved with the latest or knowing about the newest technologies,
yes.
right?
Yep.
You've bought things before, and you've consulted with people and stuff, and so you really enjoy this. So it could be a business for you because you're quite good at it.
It could be. I would have to have employees, though. There's no way I could do it myself. There's definitely a maintenance factor. You'd have to have someone that maintains these things, because they do go down.
Now, do you store them is there a place you store everything? You can take it down and
I have
it away?
all the big props. I got them now where they fold down flat, and I store them in a shed in the back of my house. And then I have all the electronics they store in my garage.
Gotcha.
So they're protected from the elements.
Now, speaking of your backyard, so every time I go visit you, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There's more stuff going on there. You're going to run out of space soon.
I think I'm out of space now,
but
I don't know.
So just so the listening audience knows, you put together a annual party right around your birthday.
Yes.
It's usually around Memorial Day weekend.
Is that narcissistic?
No.
Okay.
Because this year you actually entertained your wife. You had your wife's party. It was technically your annual birthday, but we celebrated your wife's birthday.
Yeah, she turned a big 40 this year.
Right. So it was all about her. So she was getting the gifts and whatnot. But you had jacked up a form.
Yes,
So that was
I
fun.
did.
So you actually built a stage and you had some lighting, and we did what, 3 sets, and
Mhm.
you had like a little dance floor VIP section, and then you had the pool, and you had people on the other side of the pool. And at the highlight of the night, I think, I looked out as I was performing and I saw the pool was packed. People are sitting around the pool. People are eating, grilling. There's a bar. You had, I think you had like a slushy bar.
We
You
have,
had like a
we have
regular
yeah, 2
bar.
Slurpee
You
machines.
had people in the house. You had people out in the street.
I actually
you know.
have directional signs everywhere. You are here, like they have at Disney, because they have different sections. They all have names. They have TNA's Tiki Bar, TNA's Grottos in the back. That's like, I call it the Stoner Pond, but you got the Waterfall Pond, Zen area where people hang out with fish. And then you got the stage area with the VIP with the high top tables. Inside, you have the full bar, dance floor, dance lights. And then we got a movie screen over the pool.
A giant movie screen.
Yeah.
So like you could literally lay on a float and watch an entire movie.
Yeah, I think it's 300 inches long.
And I
or
think,
something
wasn't
like
there an 80s theme to your party that night?
Yes, it's always
Right,
an
because
80s
my
theme.
Brittany, who was on the show here, had her little 80s outfit on.
Yeah, she looked like Saved by the Bell. What was her name?
Tiffany.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen. I
yeah.
forgot what her name was on it. Kelly Kapowski. That's what it was.
That's great that you know that.
Took me a
Kelly
minute.
Kapowski. Every boy's
I know a lot of
fantasy-
useless facts.
Every young boy's fantasy back in the 80s, right?
Ask me how I got here, and I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you who Kelly Kapowski
No, but it's a great
is.
house. There's no doubt.
Thank you.
And you're also a wonderful and established cook, or I should say, griller of meats.
Griller of me. That is going to be my retirement job if I ever retire.
I mean, but you got the smoker and you got the grill and like.
Yeah, I have a whole barbecue section set up now, and I just got a new roll-off roof too to go over it, so it looks like a concession.
Now you went
stand.
through 2 briskets that night.
4.
Went through 4.
4 briskets, 8 pork butts. There was nothing left.
So you're going to need to double that next year.
Yep.
Because you know what it is? It's so delicious that people were sitting there just waiting for the next thing. Of
And we
brisket.
timed it. We timed it. If I put it all out, it would have been gone in 15 minutes. So like every 45 minutes, I'd put more out, or else it'd be
And
gone.
also people brought a lot of pastry. So like I walked into the dining room area and there was cakes and pies and cookies. And I mean, it was just insane.
it was a full spread, and I'm going to double it next year.
I know, but like when people left, what'd you do with all that leftover food?
There was none.
There's nothing.
I didn't even get any brisket.
You know what's funny? I don't think I got any either, but I didn't want to say anything because I was like,
No, like next year or whatever, if you come next year, we'll put aside some
I'll
plates.
be there.
We'll put some plates aside for us.
I'm not going to be performing next year, so I can enjoy.
Yeah,
the
we
beverages.
actually have people are booking my house for birthday parties now. So we have someone booking it for a 50th birthday, and they're bringing a band,
No
which
kidding.
is Smack Daddy, which is a really good local band. I love them, and I can't
And they're
wait
going
to
to
see
they're
them
going to help
perform.
out with some of the expenses. I hope.
Yes, yeah. So I'm like, okay, sure, you can.
Now,
use my
Smack
house.
Daddy's the band that you get up and sing with.
Yeah, often.
Yeah, because I love those guys, man. They're really, really talented.
nice.
Their bass
great
player is a
dudes.
phenomenal bass player,
Good backup singer
and
too.
I love his gear.
He's a good singer too.
Yeah.
The drummer's fun. He was at our party. The drummer when you guys played.
Well, it's funny because a lot of musicians came to your party.
Yeah, there are guys from Soapy Tuna there, Cinder,
Smoking Aces.
Smack Daddy, Smoking Aces. The bass player came.
So,
Timmy.
so speaking of local bands, so Cape Coral and Fort Myers has a lot of really good bands.
Yes.
A lot of them are still the same bands that I remember, just maybe different names.
Or sometimes they change up members. I think they just swap members here and there, but it's still the same guys.
But really talented guys, like
Very.
A200 now is called Red Hannah.
Mhm.
They changed their name,
And Tyler sings for that now.
right? Soapy Tuna is still Soapy Tuna, but they've had a couple changes, right?
Yeah. They have a couple changes. Some
Where Smack Daddy's probably the only band that has the same lineup, more or less.
I think that Matt, the drummer's newer, but yeah, pretty much the same guy. They all here and there change out, but I think the main guys are always there.
So you and I love the Buddha Bar, and that's where we used to hang out. And what I'm hoping that could happen is that when Over Easy gets up to speed, right? We get a couple gigs under our belt.
Yeah.
We could be a regular at that place. Because you know what I like about that place, man? They play Wednesday nights and Sunday afternoons, and people go. And I'm like, wow, if you build it, they will come. I guess that's the mentality, right? So if the band is good, people will come out of the hot sun on a Sunday and go sit in a bar.
Sure.
And once they kicked out the smoking, and now it's no longer a smoky bar. It's
Clean in there. They got food in there.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
I mean,
Decent PA. I've
I
been
went-
up there a few times.
I
with
went
Smack
there on a
Daddy.
Sunday from 3 to 6. It was packed, and it was a beautiful, hot, sunny day. And people wanted to get out of the sun and go inside, cool off, have some drinks, see one of the best bands I've ever seen, Smoking Aces.
Love them. They play our party often. They're really
It's
good.
funny because I actually thought about the songs that they played. Like I took a mental note of the first set, and I never saw a cover band. And I thought Jacked Up was good at this, but we're not. So diverse, the songs that they played. You
They
know?
can play anything.
Stuck in the Middle with You. Then they went into a Rush song. Then they did like a
make it work, too.
70s. Then they did like an 8. I mean, they really mixed it up, man.
And they manage to talk in between too. And then people love it. They're good entertainers.
One of my favorite bands to go see down there. And I'll be down there soon to see them. So we're going to take a short break. We'll come back with more from Tone Stabley. Okay. Tone, how did the name Over Easy come about?
Well, you and I were sitting in a restaurant, House of Omelets, greatest omelet place in Cape Coral.
Very
by the way.
good omelet.
Love that
very
place.
Fluffy.
I mean, that keeps me getting fatter.
Well, first of all, who doesn't love breakfast any time of the day, right? Breakfast for lunch, breakfast for breakfast. I mean, they're not open at dinner time, but sometimes I'll eat breakfast at dinner at some other places.
Oh yeah. They're fantastic. Even their salads are good. I get a salad there a lot of, stop in and grab a carry out. And you get to know everybody. We got to know all the waitresses.
Yeah, those waitresses are really attractive too, aren't they?
All of them. They're all House of Omelet waitresses are hot. So we were sitting there talking about throwing this project together. It was you and I. And we're like, we need a name. I go, I don't want something serious. I go, we're not serious. It's a side project, something fun, something that sounds like us, a little wild, a little naughty. I don't know. We're not perfect angels. I'm like, something fun, something stupid. And, one of the waitresses, it was either Michelle or Amy or both of them, come up and I'm like, we need a name. We need something funny, something kind of flirty, silly, and they're like, they looked at us and they looked at there was a House of Omelets. There's a logo that actually did the signs on the door. And it had,
you made the logo for that.
Yeah.
place.
It had the egg on there and they're like, Over Easy. And I'm like, Over Easy. I'm like, that's a great name. So we're like, Over Easy. And, and it's kind of like, why is that cool? Well, it's, first of all, food, but she goes over easy. Whoops. I don't know.
But the logo looks cool because it looks like 2 female breasts.
I know it's 2 eggs. I mean,
but the way you put the eggs.
How did that happen? I would never do that.
You made them look like breasts. Like
I would never do that. It was
cool
all
logo.
about the eggs. Yeah.
And then we get the blue and the pink, in there.
And I did run it by a panel of women, of diverse women. And I'm like, is this offensive? They're like, no, when are you making the bikini tops? They all want the shirts.
Interesting. Bikini tops.
They're fine.
I like that. Over easy.
Yep. They're all in. And I'm like, okay, as long as nobody's offended, because I don't want to offend no one. I'm here to make everybody have a good time. I don't.
Well, the great thing is the playlist so far that we've been putting together for that band is fantastic.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of.
It's all fun, party, drinking music.
70s,
right?
80s, 90s, 2000s.
And the cool thing is that I sing a little bit, so I'll do a couple lead. Charles can sing. Charles is a good harmonizer.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys were already hitting it out of the park on some of the songs.
He can hit some high notes. I'm like,
Yeah, no, totally, man.
It's that 80s band he's in. He gets the high notes from that, probably.
So I think the future looks really good with that project.
Sure. Can't wait to get logistics worked out and start playing and just get out there and have a good time. I think
September, we're going to probably get into a studio.
Yeah, I feel the fall is going to happen.
Between your studio in your town and between the one up here, we can bounce back and forth.
Yeah, is that a logistics driving issue?
The problem is Charles lives north of here. It takes Charles like 2.5 hours or something crazy to go down to Fort Myers.
Yeah, it's a long drive.
Yeah.
Took me about that to get here.
Right. So now your day to day. So you own a print shop, right? You're a graphic designer.
A sign shop, yeah.
And a sign shop. Let's talk a little bit about that. Like what is your normal routine there? And what are some of the things you do on a daily basis?
Well, during the day in the summer, usually I will do the production part or the installation parts. Like it's a sign shop, but we'll start with that because as you know, in Florida, it rains by 2 or 3 o'clock and you're done or it's too hot. So normally first thing we'll do would be like 4 or 5 a.m. I'll get up, take a shower. As soon as it's daylight, 6:30, 7, I'm out doing installs because that's not raining yet. It's not too hot. It's like 80 degrees out.
So when you say you're doing install, you're talking about vinyl?
Vinyl lettering, digital prints, vehicle lettering, storefronts. Sometimes I'll install signs like overhead signs, depending on what it is. Deliver. Whatever it takes, I try to get that done early.
So in layman's terms, if a guy wants to have something above his door at his business, or perhaps maybe things on his glass, on his windows, or perhaps maybe it's a sign. Do you actually have a ladder and you're able to go up and get stuff a little higher?
I have everything that doesn't require like a boom truck. I can rent a boom truck, but then it gets into a higher tax bracket. Usually they want electrical, and I don't do electrical, and I would refer them to another company that I know that's really
Because you don't
good.
want to mess with electricity. And
Correct. Unless I was licensed for it, and I do not, and I don't do anything that I'm not licensed for. So I would refer them to another shop that does electrical.
But the majority of the business signs, are they in the ground kind of signs? Or are they more?
Mostly storefronts lately, because everybody's upgrading their store, especially after a hurricane. They got to redo everything. A lot of it's perforated window film, and that's the stuff like you print on the outside. So on the outside, you see a print, and on the inside, you can see right through it. They have them on buses too, and
Yeah, I
car
love that.
wraps.
Yeah.
I do a lot of that because it also acts as window tint. It blocks out 50% of the UV rays.
And let's face it, here in Florida, man, whether it's a business or a vehicle, you need to have tint.
Oh yeah, and it really significantly cools down the shop or whatever the store is. Plus, they got their advertising depending on the laws. Like Cape Coral's 50%, whatever commercial lettering. Fort Myers a little more forgiving, but it all depends on the different codes. You can still cover it fully. I've done windows just with white, just to cover it, and it still looks attractive, and you can do signs in addition to that. We do that a lot of sunrooms in like the retirement trailer park communities. They have the sunrooms. They're stupid hot. So we'll put white perforated window film on there, and it'll.
So the cool thing is that you have a studio
Mhm.
where you have all your printing gear in your studio where you're able to do all this yourself.
Yes.
Like, you're a small independent guy, but yet you can crank all these signs out yourself.
Yeah, I do all the wide format printing and lamination in-house. I also do the vinyl cutting in-house. I'm working back into doing shirts again. I just need more space. I'm figuring out that. I'm pretty good at finding space when I need it.
Do you think shirts could be profitable?
Yes, it depends on what it like. Screen printing, I don't have the room or the need for it, and that's like large. It's profitable if you're doing large quantities. I'm thinking more of the specialized full color stuff. Like the print and cut, heat apply type things. Like the shirts I did at the party, those are all print,
Sure.
cut, heat apply. And I already have all the equipment and I have all the materials. Just finding the time to do it or hiring someone to do it for me. I'm trying to think what else. I also have a recording studio at the house, so any audio, video editing customers may need, I can do that there also.
Yeah, did you actually go to school for video production engineering?
Yeah, I went to Specs Hollard School of Broadcast Arts in Detroit, and I could have done more radio. I originally went in for radio, and I DJ'd most of my life, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. So I ended up getting into video production. That's how I got into all the video stuff.
Yeah, I think you need to have your own podcast in the future.
I should. It'd be fun, I think. I have a whole studio at home already set up, actually.
Right.
Not that this isn't a fine studio. Maybe I'd come here because I would love driving 2 hours.
Well, hey, thank you for being on the podcast with K-Rock, the Jacked Up podcast with K-Rock.
The Jacked Up podcast.
How could people find you if they want to have some signs for their business? How would they reach out to you?
I have a Facebook page. It's Stabley Marketing LLC. You just go to Facebook and just type in Stabley Marketing LLC.
So
and it'll
that's
go
STABLEY.
Correct.
Marketing
LLC.
LLC.
And it'll go right to the Facebook page. Or you can just go to Tone Stabley on Facebook.
And what's
I got
your
a link to
email?
It's tones, TONES, .signs, SIGNS @gmail.com. You can reach me that way.
Okay.
Also.
So any business, small, medium, or large, that needs any type of signs. And also you do a lot of graphic stuff too. A lot of
graphic design, logo design. I also went to college for graphic design. That's more what I enjoy. I don't get to do it as much because, that's fun time for me. I got to do the production work, which is work.
And then during the season, if they want to come see your wonderful display, your home display, how do they find you there?
They can, there's a map. There's a holiday map. Wink News puts it out, I believe.
No kidding.
And I'm on there. So there's a tour, a Cape Coral tour of Christmas lights, and we're on the map every year. And it's usually after Black Friday, and it runs until New Year's Eve at midnight.
Well, I could tell the listeners at home to definitely go do that.
Oh,
because it's fantastic. It's amazing.
It's a good time. And I'm always, if I'm not working, I'm there, and I'll come out and talk to you and hang out and
sell cotton candy.
I will bring popcorn out. We have a full-size popcorn machine. So sometimes we'll bring popcorn out.
That's fantastic.
It's a good time.
All right, Tone. Well, thanks for coming on the show today.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Sounds great.
See ya.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.